Hi, I'm Gina Wells,
Hi, I'm Kat Toon.
and this is the Success Principles Podcast. Michigan is known as the birthplace of Motown, headquarters to the auto industry, and home of the beautiful Great Lakes. The Success Principles Podcast features professionals and entrepreneurs with ties to this great state who have demonstrated innovation and success both within and outside of our Mittens border.
Everyone has their own unique journey to personal and professional prosperity. Gina and I have honest and insightful conversations with our guests on how they built their careers, what challenges they overcame along the way, and most importantly, what has defined their success.
I want to welcome Ray and Sheila Markham. They're owners of California Closets, and they have 3 locations in Commerce Township, Birmingham, and is it Troy, Sheila, that you just opened up?
The Michigan Design Center.
Michigan Design Center. Welcome today. Tell us a little bit about your business, when you got in business, and how you became successful.
Well, why don't you just tell them how you got started with that gal recruiting you? That might be the easiest.
I was recruited. I was working as a hairdresser in a salon, customer service, and one of my clients went to work for a newly opened company called California Closets, and in Connecticut.
Wow.
And I watched as a friend of mine that got recruited actually first had success, and I thought this would be a great opportunity for me also to join them with my prior customer service skills. So I went to work for the Brennans, who owned the Connecticut franchise, and had great success, worked there for 2 years. And my husband and I had been looking into getting a business because he was in sales also. And we researched California Closets for their franchises that were available. And at the time, the territory was available in Detroit, Michigan. So we moved here and opened up our location in April of 1988.
That's amazing to go from a customer service role to owning your own business. What was it in particular about California Closets that struck you as a good company to invest into?
Well, we started hanging out with the owners, luckily, and we'd go out partying. And, when you're working 60 hours a week in the car business, you're looking for something else to do. I was making very good money, but I didn't have any time for myself.
Wow.
So I'd been looking at McDonald's and Burger King and some of these other franchise opportunities, but you had to have $1 million, and I didn't quite have that. And so I got talking to Steve about California Closets. The entry level pricing to get into it was $25,000 to own the franchise. And so that was doable. And then I, had to research, obviously, all the other things that you had to spend money on: a building, vehicles, machinery. And at the end of it, it came up to about $140,000. And we go, okay, that's doable. And so my dad loaned us, I think, $100,000 of the rest. And we came here and we purchased a home. We opened a business all in about 4 months. So we were busy in the spring of 1988.
That's really great. Kind of a success story there. So you used other people's money to help you get started then. And then did you pay them back along the way? Or tell me a little bit about how you formed not only the capitalization to get started, but how long did it take you to possibly pay your parents back, or did they give that to you as a gift?
No, we paid them back. California Closets is a very unique opportunity where at the time, if you advertised in the newspaper on a Sunday and a Wednesday, your phone would ring on Monday and you'd get like 20, 25 appointments. So we'd get these appointments, and Sheila and I would go out and we'd sell them because I know everybody was buying. It was like, oh, this is easy. Our hard part is that neither of us came from manufacturing. So, hiring the guys and training them and all that. But corporate was very supportive on sending guys out. So to get back to your original question, we made money right from the get-go.
Right.
We just started selling and installing, and the margins were very good, and within a year, we were able to pay my parents back.
That's great.
So you started in 1988, as you said, and success right off the bat. What is your process? So from me calling you saying, hey, I'm interested in possibly having you look at, my home to do a project, to completion, what does that look like?
Well, you call, and the first thing we're going to do is just query on what you're looking at. So in the old days, we were pretty much strictly closets, as the name went by, California Closets. But today it's a completely different ballpark. So today we're asking you what area of the home that you're looking at, which could be anywhere from a closet, a garage, a pantry, an entertainment center, a wall unit, a wardrobe unit. So the product line has expanded to, pretty much anything in your home that we'll do, except the kitchen. Not that we can't, but it's just not our forte. So we've stayed out of the kitchen.
And also with this coronavirus that's out there now, when our customer liaison answers the phone when a client calls, they will query the client of the reason why they're calling, what was the urgency today. And then we're also offering people virtual consultations over the phone now. So they have that personal experience beforehand, and they'll do a Zoom meeting with them also in someone's home.
That's great, Sheila. And so when they do the Zoom meeting, do they kind of share the screen and help them build, like if their closet space is X amount large, do they help them build that right online?
Well, the people will actually, before the appointment, our design consultant will send a kit on what to do to measure a little bit. And so before the appointment takes over Zoom, our designer will have the measurement already in a CAD file. So when they get back in front of the customer at Zoom, they'll actually have a presentation available for them, and they can go live and adjust the design upon whatever the client wants to add different finishes, and they'll get a full rendering of what they're looking at the same time during the consultation. So in a matter of time, in an hour time, the client would know what the price would be of the project.
And I was saying, Sheila, that's great that you've been able to transition from being a face-to-face contact with your clients to now over Zoom. So now, how long is it, is it hindering your business now that you might have to wait to do the install? You're getting a complete, I want to do it, but then what happens with the install?
Well, right now, there's nothing happens with the install other than we tell them when we will be able to do it under the guidelines we have from the state of Michigan. So we already know that on May the 4th or whatever date that we can start back as of now, we know what our install schedule is. So it may be June before this particular customer that's buying today is going to get an install date just because of that lag.
Yeah.
So this is obviously a challenging time to be a business owner right now. Beyond this experience, which is completely unprecedented, what were some of the other hurdles that you faced in both growing your business and then some of the things that you have stumbled upon along the way?
In my end, since I handle the marketing, it's been, an up and down results from your marketing efforts in the changing of, over the 30 years. Whereas, newspaper was so prevalent in everyone's home and the cost was good. Then that went away. Yellow Pages went away. We found retail stores locations to be very good. We actually went into malls, but then we had a recession start in 2005, and that wasn't working for a while. So getting back into the market again after that was a challenge. But locations and showrooms always have been important to us. So over the years, we've had 10 different locations, retail locations that we work.
Yeah,
we were in Somerset Mall for 10 years, right next door to Respiration Hardware, as an example.
Wow. A lot has gone on through those 30 years, and you've probably seen a lot of employees come and go. And as we talk about success principles for business owners here in Michigan and how they bring their team to success, Can you address a little bit about how you've brought your team on and the team that you have now that all work together and coordinate to make things so successful in California Closets?
Well, we've been very lucky over the years that the people that we hire typically stick with us, the good ones. Obviously, you go through some that don't make it. But as an example, our engineering manager, I think he's my nephew, but he's been with us for 20 years. And the sales manager over 20 years, and a few installers around the 20-year mark. My office managers, 12 years. So our management team is very strong and seasoned. The ethic within the company is very much of a team family environment. So that, if they come in and they like it, there's not really a reason for them to want to leave. So in that aspect, we have a very seasoned team. California Closets today provides fantastic training modules and various things to help us train people. So there's lots of training available for all departments.
As you build your team, Ray and Sheila, you obviously want to work with people who are going to keep the business the way that you want it to. How do you do that as the leaders and the owners and the people that set the tone for your company? How do you help your employees kind of portray that the business the way that you want it to?
Well, we care about the consumer and what we're doing with people. We're not in this just to make a buck. I mean, to us, every one of our customers ends up kind of, some of my best friends are customers.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the kind of relationship that we have. And, when the employees see how much we care, then they understand that that's what they've got to do. I mean, it's not an option to take care of customers. And when that just becomes your DNA, then you don't really have to train it. It just becomes a part of their day-to-day. And I think, Gina, you've seen that when you come into our business.
I do. And in fact, some of the biggest myths and misconceptions out there when it comes to becoming successful is that training's the only thing. But what you're saying is it's a little bit more than training. It's also kind of caring and sharing and making sure that everybody comes together as a whole. Do you know of any other myths or misconceptions? I know we talked a little bit about university education, that you may not need one to do what you do. Can you talk a little bit to that about your college background and whether your employees have college backgrounds or what's really needed to be successful in this?
Determination.
Yeah, neither Sheila and I came from an educational background. I mean, I played hockey, so as soon as I graduated high school, that was the end of university because I was off playing hockey. Mm-hmm. And I took classes in accounting and in various things that I thought I needed. But to be perfectly honest with you, I think a lot of kids go to college because of the peer pressure that they think they need college, when they probably should be in technical schools in various areas that they'll actually use and not pay for things that they don't use, which is typically what happens in university today.
Some of the things with regard to the biggest challenges then, and Sheila, you said it, determination is what they need, and just a will to want to be there. When we talk about the fact that your employees are all learning from you and you're all working as a core group, and there are some technical things that other people need to learn. You guys are, when I say technical, probably putting together the closets, I would guess. Can you tell us a little bit about the back room? And once you get the order, it goes in. How are you manufacturing that, what somebody needs to put into their homes?
Well, today the CAD, the design that the designer comes up with, that information from the CAD actually goes into an engineering department that they take that data. They create what they call DFX files, which tells the machinery out back, like how to cut it and the various things that need to be done. So all the information comes right out of the original design that the salesperson provides to the office.
Wow.
So it's a very, very sophisticated event today, unlike when we used to hand draw things.
Right. Or, now the machines are maximizing the wood that we cut compared to what we used to try to do it manually. It now goes into like a nesting program. And then in the back also we'll have, the inventory for all the accessories. So in the back we have a manager who has assistants that help them get the whole job together, all the parts, special orders.
So in the shop, as an example, we have, I think, 6 guys that work in the shop that gets the material ready. We have another guy in another building next door that makes all the drawers. We have another gentleman that's in charge of making sure that all the parts that are going into the job are in a job cart that he loads into a van for the installers. We don't have the installers loading their trucks anymore. It's done for them. Okay. And then the installer takes the plan and goes out, meets the customer, installs the product. Hopefully everything goes perfectly. And we're done the job typically in a day or 2, depending. Now we get these $100,000 jobs, so obviously you're not doing them in a day. But and like I'd said earlier, every job doesn't go perfect, but the thing I think that separates us from perhaps other competitors or other businesses is that we're on it to get it right. We're not sitting there trying to duck it going, well, that's good enough, you should be happy. No, if we didn't do what we said we're going to do, we're going to fix it. And I think that that's the number one aspect of why customers keep coming back to us.
Wow. It sounds like there's a lot of moving parts that go into this, the whole process. Do you have any particular clients or projects that stand out as being particularly memorable to you? Any favorite job?
Well, like my best friend today, Ed Albertson, I went out to his home, or a salesman of mine went out to his home out in Ortonville
30 years ago
to do a garage. Well, at the time, we really weren't even doing garages, but the guy said, well, I see your product, and if you do this, this, and this, I think you can do what I want you to do. And so the sales guy called me up. I got in my car, I drove up to Eddie's home, and everything he was requesting, we can do that. And so that's how we started doing garages. And Ed happened to be in Yellow Pages at the time. We set up a national advertising program for California Closets with the Yellow Pages. And
through him,
that's just an example of one of the things through a customer that's now, we're family, right?
Right.
Wow.
That is great. So you have many ideal clients that are friends. And recently, Sheila, we've been hearing you on the radio and other advertising that you've done out there. And so not only are you being referred to other people for your work, but you're also doing some advertising out there. And how does that help you to become more successful in what you're currently doing? Is it helpful or hinderful? Or tell us a little bit about how your radio advertisement has been going.
Also having a personal presence, that's saying, hello, I'm Sheila Markham, or hello, I'm Ray Markham of California Closets. People have, a person that is part of a brand, even though it's just not a brand, like, you might have the Container Store, Bed Bath & Beyond. So it's been nice to have, a name and a face with our product. What's really been advantageous for us lately is our trade program. Since we've opened at the Michigan Design Center, we've created relationships with architects, interior designers, and builders. That's paying off very well. Because in this Michigan Design Center, they'll have some very unique products where a builder or an interior designer will take their client to, and there's a place there's about 60 different showrooms, from carpeting to lighting, fabrics and wallpaper, where
Versace marble.
Correct.
Right? Who would have thought it?
Armani and Versace tiles, true. Yeah.
Wow.
Cool.
So when it does come to creating a space, what are some of the recommendations you have? Let's say a closet. What are some of the things that you would recommend to avoid common pitfalls that your customers would tend to fall into?
Well, I don't know about pitfalls. I mean, there's a lot of ways about design that the consumer is really just not aware of what's best to use their space. So if you've got a closet 5 feet wide, you can't hang on both sides because the clothes sticks out 2 feet on each side. So I tell my designers when I'm training them, or when I wasn't doing the training, is the closet tells you what to do. And this is what you have to explain to the customer of why you're doing things. Not that you want to, but the closet itself needs to be designed that way for it to function best for the customer. So there's a lot of that going on. One of the cool things we do is for handicapped people, there's what they call a handicap valet, which is a bar that you pull down that has your clothes hanging on it. So the person sitting in a wheelchair can pull their clothing down to them and access them. We have many homes today that have 10-foot ceilings. So they can put the rod up at the top, this pull-down thing, and now you can have hanging up at a height you would used to have a ladder to get up to, where now they can pull the clothing down to them. So there's a lot of cool products.
Wow. That's something that I would never think of. And I have a child with dwarfism, so he has accessibility issues. And, our solution is to keep all the clothes on the bottom, rung so he can get to them. But eventually, if he grows older, he's going to need, although he's a boy, he probably won't have that many clothes, right?
That's right.
But that's interesting. And is that something that you learned along the way, the accessibility? Is that something that California Closets has helped you with, adaptability and, accessible type of designs?
Well, there's all that training that's out there available, and then there's times that you just learn it on the fly. You screw it up and you put hanging on both sides, and the guy calls you up and goes, "How am I supposed to get in and out of this closet?" So sometimes you learn from your mistakes.
Right.
That's a big success principle.
We do make mistakes.
Yeah. Learn from your mistakes and correct them as you go, and motivation and determination, that's for sure. As we talked about all of the great things that you do for California Closets and your clients, what are some of the things that you do to keep in contact with your existing clients? Do you send out a newsletter? How do you make connections to those you've already served so that they know you're thinking about them?
We have a very large customer retention program that we do. And corporate also produces a lovely book that we mail out twice. They print it twice a year. And we're also emailing to our clients for events and tips every month. And we will have once a year, we'll have like a customer appreciation open house at our store. And also by helping in local charities in some of the different areas, whether it be Sweet Dreams or, and letting our customers know that we're going to be working with Dress for Success and asking for them contributing also.
That's great.
Wow. Sheila, what would you say would be the biggest source for new customers? And then do you find that you have people, you said you have a lot of repeat customers. You have people who have a project and then say, "Oh, I need this done now," and we'll come back to you.
What's a very interesting thing is now that we're doing the children of our clients that we had done 30 years ago. So that's fun, right?
That's a success principle right there, Sheila.
Yes. Yeah, that's a lot of fun. And, the different areas of the home that we're doing for, these new people today. And years ago, people just used to know us for closets. But now we're making anything for any area of their home, even on an open wall, making an armoire, entertainment centers, making like if you had a staircase coming down, we do things angular also, where we'll custom fit to make a cabinet where you would not have thought you could use that space for anything. And workspaces and little nooks and crannies of people's homes are a big thing right now. So people that we might have sold closets 2 years ago now see that we're doing all these other areas of the home. And that's helped us maintain our customer and get new clients also.
That's great, Sheila. So we've heard
I
today.
mean, I think.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Ray.
I think one thing I'll throw in, Gina, is that once you've paid to have a custom closet, you're probably never going to do without it again. I mean, that's how you use it twice every day, whether you like to or not, right?
Sounds like something from a book we both know. A luxury once enjoyed is not going to be given away.
Yeah, exactly. And so that that the business itself promotes itself because the product works and you use it. I mean, we buy so many things that you buy it and after you use it a couple of times, it sits in the corner and collects dust, right?
Right.
This doesn't happen to be one of those products.
Well, the success principles we've heard here today are great, Ray and Sheila, and we congratulate you two on 30 years of a successful business. I know that your family works in the business with you, and that's great. And the other thing with regard to your trained designers and the training that you do for your individuals and keeping them on board, another wonderful success principle. It's no doubt that you guys are in business for 30 years and continuing on through this tumultuous time. If people wanted to get a hold of the two of you, is there a website that they can go to hear more about California Closets? Can you give us some information on what's the best way to contact you if someone's interested?
And that would be an email address, and that would be Ray's email address. We'll give Markham at calcloset.com.
Great.
And
so
if
there's
they
not
want to go to a website. Yeah, if they go to a website, they're going to go to californiaclosets.com.
And then look up your location?
Correct.
Yeah, well, once they put in their zip code, then all of our information will pop up. If you're within our region, then we'll get the info.
Very good. So this is a franchise business. What's your closest California Closet competitor? Is there another one in Michigan, or are you the only one in Michigan?
For California Closets, we are the only one at this time. They do manufacture in Grand Rapids for half the country, but they don't actually at this point have a showroom there. We used to have a showroom in Petoskey, but back in 2007 or 8, whenever it was, we shut that down because there wasn't any business to be had. But it's been, we still do quite a bit of business up there, but it's a bit of a struggle, just the distance of working with the consumer. But this new virtual sales call may change a lot of that. Yeah,
there's good and bad that come out of every problem that we live through. And if we can find the positives to get through this downturn, there's obviously going to be things that we learn from it that will enhance our business. So what's the radius of, how far will you go in Michigan from your Commerce Township location or Troy?
Well, we really work anywhere in the state. I mean, our core business is within Lansing, Ann Arbor, Jackson, probably 100-mile radius of commerce here.
We have different design consultants that live in different areas of the state also. We have people that live, one that lives out by Jackson, another one out by Washington, Michigan, and, Heartland. So, and then we have people in Birmingham, Detroit. So we try to adjust that for the design consultants that work just for us.
That's wonderful. Well, Kat, do you have any more questions on the success principles? I better say that not very fast. On the success principles of California Closets and Ray and Sheila Markham.
Ray and Sheila, if you had to maybe boil down a couple of your most important success principles, the things that brought you to where you are today, what would you say they were? Well,
I mean, I think it's hard work. That's the number one thing that it's like any business. It becomes a 24/7 thing for the owner. My daughter's getting involved in it now. She's starting to realize that it is a 24/7 opportunity.
Obligation.
It's not, you're not working 24/7, but you have to be available all the time. And you do think about it even when you don't want to think about it. That's the number one thing about being a business owner.
And principle-wise also, how we treat our staff, making them accountable and also rewarding them when the times are good.
Agree. And you guys also have an annual meeting, don't you, with everybody that you get together and kind of talk about what you see as the future for California Closets with your employees once a year?
Correct.
Yeah, we do that once a year at least. We seem to have more training now than ever, which you needed because the product line is so extensive.
Mm-hmm.
We just did a partnership with Martha Stewart, so that was a whole day of training, and then you got to learn how to sell it and install it on a different type of product line. So there's always something. We have Christmas parties and various events. It used to be we'd have parties here at our house in the summertime, but with 50, that's not doable.
Have to bring in some help there for that.
And another interesting partnership we had done with corporate prior to the virus, we're educating our staff on the white glove service.
And tell us a little bit about that, Sheila, the white glove service.
Well, it's kind of like the service you would have gotten at a fine department store years ago. How you're greeting the customer, the precautions you're going to take in their home, the care, and, wiping things down and really making sure the client fully understands the product and how to work the product. And, that the young man has accountability for his job. So the sign off that he gets, and also hinting that he would like to have, if you feel free, you could give me a review online so others could know of, the service that's provided.
That's great.
Little things like that can make such a big difference too.
They do.
Especially when it comes to
At the end of the
people's
day,
homes.
the installer's providing them with the product that they purchased. Everybody up until then is,
Yep.
But the installer is the last touch that they get. And when they do the job properly and they clean up after themselves, it's a unique thing because
They could kill the relationship.
People working in your home too, a lot of times are a disappointing aspect, right?
I would have to agree. I can't. Anybody that leaves your home not the way that you presented it the first time, you're going to get aggravated at, because if you walk into a nicely clean home, you're going to want to walk out that way.
Especially if you can smell the person while he's in your home is not a good thing.
Well, and it really highlights how much trust you put in other people to represent you as business owners too. So kudos to you for training your staff properly.
Right? Of having good people who are going to show up and represent you properly.
Right. Exactly. Ray, you had mentioned earlier that you were working 60 hours a week, and you thought that you wanted to own a business so that you could spend a little more time. And towards the end here, we're talking about how it's a 24-hour-a-day job, really. And that's something that you probably learned along the way. But mentality-wise, what is the difference between working for a company and being an entrepreneur?
Well, I mean, at the end of it, you get the reward of doing well, right? I mean, owners always make more than employees. And you set your own schedule. I mean, you're working, but, you work on the times that that you want to work. So, and we've been at it a long time. So, we're not working 24/7 anymore physically. We're working 24/7 mentally. I mean, especially through these times, it's very difficult of wondering what's going to happen. Is the customer going to have an appetite to own your product or spend the money on it when this gets done? That's the interesting part, that all business owners that I'm talking to have the same concern.
I agree. This 2020 coronavirus has really not only attacked people physically for their health, and unfortunately didn't make it through it, but there's all of us who are trying to stay at home and trying to harbor the virus so that we don't let it spread, that it will stop. But when we open things back up, you're right, it's going to take a while for people to get back to where they were. But I'm sure it will happen. And, it sounds like you guys have weathered a couple storms in the last 30 years. and you probably got down a little bit, but it sounds like you got right back up. Sheila, you were mentioning 2008, I think?
Yeah, but we've been very fortunate. These last 5 years have been the best ever. And financially, our particular company, we're in a position to weather this fine. It's just, it still hurts. And anytime you got to tell an employee that, you got to either lay them off or, fire them, or I don't know whether that's the right word. We're not really firing them, but you got to let them go because you're not going to have the work. So that's probably the hardest thing right now is, people need jobs and we're supplying them. And when you can't supply it, you feel bad.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
Especially for all the principles you were espousing early on. Well, listen,
Right.
Ray and Sheila, I know that we said this would be a half an hour. We've had an enjoyable, I think, 40 minutes talking with the two of you. We really appreciate you coming on and chatting with Gina and Kat. And Kat, do you have anything to say? Well, I would say goodbye and thank you, but Kat?
Thank you. Yes, this is really great talking to you. Very interesting. Thanks for letting us into your life, into your business a little bit. Really appreciate it.
And I'll give Gina some kudos because since we've met her, our business has really advanced. And all of her theories of doing business and using insurance and that, I'm an advocate. So if we can help you at all with referrals, we're happy to do that.
Well, I sure appreciate it. Thank you for that, Ray and Sheila. It is a pleasure to work with you both. And I hope for this all to turn around and more customers to come your way because you guys have a great business going. Thanks and have a great evening.
We appreciate
Take care.
it.
Thank you so much for listening to our show. We know your time is valuable, and we appreciate that you have taken the time to stop by for a bit.
For more information about the topics we discussed today, there are links in the show notes for your reference. If you'd like to learn more about the Success Principles podcast and about Kat and myself, go to www.successprinciplespodcast.com. Gina Wells is an investment advisor representative of Retirement Wealth Advisors Incorporated, an SEC registered advisor. Success Principles podcast and RWA are not affiliated. Exposure to ideas and financial vehicles discussed should not be considered investment advice or recommendation to buy or sell any financial vehicle. This information should not be considered tax or legal advice. Individuals should consult with professionals specialized in fields of tax, legal, accounting, or investments regarding the applicability of the information for their situation. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. Investments will fluctuate and when redeemed may be worth more or less than originally invested.